Hi, Robert Chuckrow here. I'm going to show you an exercise that I learned from Elaine Summers, with whom I studied Kinetic Awareness. And this exercise is learning to move the skull independently of the 7 cervical vertebrae, and then moving the skull and the first cervical vertebra, the top one, independently of the ones below, and then each one in turn independently of all the ones below until you get to the bottom. So there are a number of things that I should need to show you. One is the different ways of moving. One is forward and back. Another is side to side. And that covers all the tilting movements of the head, because all the tilting movements would be combinations of those two perpendicular ones. Another movement, or what we call a degree of freedom of movement, is turning, the swiveling. And then there's a fourth one, which is a little bit more esoteric, which is lifting, extending vertebra apart. Now, it may be that you're not going to be able to actually move vertebra very much, but at least you can change the intervertebral pressure. And I know I can do all of those movements. It's important to know where the skull rests on the top vertebra. The point on the skull is called the apex, and the top vertebra is called the atlas. And here's how you find out. I'll show you with a skeleton in a minute. You put your fingers behind your ears and you'll feel this bony lobe called mastoid processes. One on each side, and come down. You'll feel the bottom tip of it. It's like a lobe coming, a sharp, an angular thing coming down, and then work up about an inch to the middle of it and the outermost part. And midway between the tips of your fingers is that point where the skull rests on the top vertebra. I'll try to show you that with this plastic skeleton. If I'm going to locate that joint that I just discussed between the skull and the top vertebra, and now this over here is that mastoid process, and if you look, you'll see that it's about at the middle level, and then if I turn it sideways, you'll see that mastoid process goes right along the spine. So that's the point. You don't have to get it exactly, you'll feel it. And so one way of doing it is just to do tilting to one side and the other for each vertebra and for the head. Another way would be to do tilting forward and back, etc. Or you can mix and match. Do it any way you like. It's a little more, the most advanced one is the extension. For me, I don't have any problem doing that. So you start with just the head, and don't go for large movements. Just the tiniest little micro movement. I'm doing forward and back now. And then I'm going to go sideways a little bit. You can experiment. Find which way is best for you. And then I'm going to turn a little bit. I'm not moving my spine, I'm just moving my head. Just turn. I'm looking at the camera, but my head is turning a tiny bit. And then I'm going to lift my skull above that top vertebra. There. And now I'm going to condense it back. And you can do this sitting or standing. I'm doing it sitting. And then now move the head and the first cervical vertebra together above the second one, which is below, etc. And do any of those movements that you want. You can do all kinds of movements. And then go to the next, until you get to the bottom. The lowest cervical vertebra, the seventh, is for me the hardest one to get to feel that I'm doing any movement. But the more you do this, practice this, you'll find that you'll feel more and more. If you can't feel it at first, visualize it. You can look at a photograph or drawing of a skeleton, of that part of the skeleton, and eventually you'll find that by doing this, even if you're not adept at it, you will open up a lot of tension in this area, and it's a very good thing to do. Thank you.